Today on the Worldview Bros, we continue our conversation about happiness. What does virtue have to do with happiness? We will explore and analyze. Also, Sal has a special like for us today. It's all coming up on the Worldview Bros.
Good morning, my fellow human beings. Yes, welcome to the Worldview Bros. It's so great to be here again for our happiness part 2. I'm Sal, and this is my brother Jim, a.k.a. Jimmy Cocoa Puff, a.k.a. Jimbo, a.k.a. Slippin' Jimmy. Jim, how you doing today?
Jedi Master. Okay. I'm just saying you gotta keep them straight, get them all good, get them all in there.
True. We got a lot of stuff planned for us today. Again, like I said, it's our happiness part 2. Kind of just digging a little bit deeper now. I'm gonna be touching some stuff. Last week we talked about pleasure and what how we seek happiness through pleasure. What does happiness really mean? We have our game today. A little surprise. We'll show you what that is. We'll talk about it later. Jim's going to talk about some physics news, black holes. Sounds like fun. And I have a special like for us today. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you'll like it. So, yep. Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I think we need to, thinking about what we discussed last time, this is a huge question, right? Happiness. And this ongoing tension, I feel like there's tension between the idea of pleasure and virtue.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, like it seems like a very logical thing. When we consider happiness, I think we can feel that it's like a feeling. We're looking for this pleasurable,
kind of like a longing for something. We know that's, when you're finding it in things that don't fulfill us or that doesn't feel right. There's like something's missing, like there's an emptiness, like a void.
Yeah,
a black hole.
But like we were talking about last time too, it seems like if we just go with, if happiness is tied to pleasure, then we can just follow our desires, anything that seems like it would be pleasurable. And, we fall into the infamous ditch. Mm-hmm. You're going to end up in a ditch somewhere. Yeah. So you can't just trust that. Moreover, I think intuitively everybody recognizes, even if we're really smart about figuring out what's going to make us happier and happier, it seems like pleasure as happiness is something that most people are not going to be on board with. What I mean by that is we intrinsically feel like that's incomplete. Right. I think we all have the sense that we're trying to fulfill something. We know that happiness is probably tied to a fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And what I would argue is that's what virtue is. Virtue is kind
of what feeds that fulfillment.
It's I think so. Or that it's really that it's the same thing. So Let me put it this way. I think once again I do want to revert to Aristotle. He's extremely helpful in this. By virtue, I want to make sure that we understand what is meant by that, classically speaking, over the course of history. What do we specifically mean by virtue? And I think the best way to think about it is this way. I think we talked about it at one point, but what would you say, Sal, is the virtue of a pencil? What is the virtue of a pencil?
Well, just its function.
Okay.
You use a pencil to write down things. It's used to write down ideas.
Good. And think about this. Notice how we would say I guess virtue is also tied to this. What is a good pencil?
Right, exactly.
So what would you say?
A pencil that's sharpened correctly, a pencil that's its lead is fine.
Yeah.
You
the wood is good quality.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's clear if we look at other examples.
Has an eraser at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's not all.
So bear with me. Let's look at a few more because I think this is crucial. Okay, what about a good car? What is a virtuous car? What is a good car?
Mm-hmm. A car that takes you from point A to point B. A car that will start, a car that has AC, a car that is comfortable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now let's take this a step further because I think there's something here. What is the virtue of a dog? And let's go with a particular dog. What's the virtue of a Labrador?
Well, a lab its virtue is to serve its master, serve whoever takes care of it. If you give me food, I serve you.
Okay.
Being a guard dog, if it, alerting people. I guess it depends on the dog too. Yeah. Certain dogs have different traits that maybe are fulfillments, if you want to go with.
Yeah, and I feel like, because I think somebody might object and say, oh man, how do you know that it's the virtue of the Labrador to like serve its master, as you put it, right?
Yeah.
To work for the master, I think that we can say that pretty confidently because we notice how happy it makes the Labrador.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We all know that's what dogs, they want to please their master. Mm-hmm. It's in their nature.
Yeah.
It's in their nature to do that, And moreover, like we can look at, fine, there's variation between dogs, Mm-hmm. Like I think part of the virtue of a lab is that what's it called? A Labrador, what is it?
You thinking of a golden retriever maybe?
Oh yeah, but aren't they called Labrador retriever? No.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, no, there are.
Oh right.
They are.
Okay. Yeah. So or maybe it's a golden retriever. Hey, what's the virtue of a golden retriever? You know what? It's in the name. You know why it's in the name? Because it's part of their nature.
Yeah, exactly.
So you see this? The nature is tied to the virtue, right? Exactly. This is why I think our
human nature
series was so important. Mm-hmm. I think all of this is intrinsically tied. In order to know the virtue of something, you need to know the nature of the thing.
Right.
In order to know the virtue of the pencil, you need to know the nature of a pencil. To know the virtue of a dog, you have to know the nature of the dog.
And I think in order to understand happiness, you really need to understand the nature and the virtue, both those things, right, of us as humans.
Yeah. And you know what? We can't put ourselves in the mind of a dog.
Yeah.
But it's pretty evident that when a dog is fulfilling its virtue, it's happy as it can possibly be. You can see them, right?
We talked about the example of a husky. It's nature of a husky is to pull things.
Yeah, a husky is not going to be happy until it's like hauling stuff. It's in their nature. Yeah. So that's what we mean by virtue, and that's why we can see that there's a very definite connection between virtue and happiness. Yeah. This actually, I want to kind of skipping ahead to where I wanted to go. I want to show you a quote from George Washington. This is from his first inaugural address, and I think it's incredibly wise. Think about it.
We'll have the quote up for you guys.
Yeah.
To be able to see.
So I don't know that people speak like this anymore. I wish we had, our politicians were, had this kind of level. Look at this. George Washington said, "There is no truth more thoroughly established than that there exists in the economy and course of nature an indissoluble union between virtue and happiness, between duty and advantage, between the genuine maxims of an honest and magnanimous policy and the solid rewards of public prosperity and felicity. since we ought to be no less persuaded that the propitious smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right which heaven itself has ordained. Okay, so again, the point that I believe that to be absolutely the case, that there is in fact just a connection. There's a natural connection between virtue and happiness. And so in the context that was going on there with Washington, he's talking about how the prosperity of the nation or the health of the nation ultimately does need to be tied to the virtue of the citizens. Yeah. And that, look, we're going to have a happy country if we have a virtuous country. We do require our citizens to be virtuous. If our citizens forget what human nature is, and if they forget the importance of pursuing justice and of seeking virtue in their lives, that we will individually be unhappy, and that we will be unhappy as a nation. Right. You know? Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's great wisdom. But sorry. The point then is analyzing this question of virtue, and we see that it's tied to human nature. And what was some of our, I know that it's not like we have a perfect answer to this, but I think we agreed from our previous series that human nature is intrinsically tied to our rational capacity, our capacity to be moral agents, right? That we can tell right from wrong, that we're able to distinguish using our reason something that is just, something that is unjust, also something that is beautiful or not beautiful, that it's kind of like this intellectual perception. That's what it is. Yeah. It's an intellectual perception of goodness, of beauty, and of justice, right? So exercising that is what virtue is going to be about. Now, Aristotle, for instance, puts it this way, that in order for you to even decide, in order for you to live according to what is just, according to what is right, you first of all have to have mastery over your desires in a certain way. Because like we said, those pleasures, those desires, they can be like wild horses. And if we simply let our lives be ruled by them, we're going to live in chaos. So I do have some examples that I want to look at as to what it means to have our desires in a right manner, and to then exercise our intellectual capacities in analyzing situations in life. Yeah,
definitely. We'll dig into those examples right after our game. So our segment here. Jim, why don't you explain for us the game that we're going to be playing today?
Okay, so let's see how this game goes. This is a game that I play with Dora, my wife, all the time. It's a very strange game, but we really like it.
Strange games are my thing.
So I call it the random game. It's the random game. And so the rules are a little bit hazy, but it's kind of like this. I'm going to just say a word. Okay. It has to be like a thing. It can be an abstract thing, but it can't be too abstract. Right. If you give a word, if you name a noun that's too abstract, you're disqualified, or you would lose points, and you could potentially lose. So you just have to say something that's very random, and then the next person will have like 5 seconds. We'll just kind of like hold our fingers like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to say something else that's also completely random.
5 seconds is a long time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know.
Okay. I'm going to try to do it like immediate.
Okay. So think, what does it mean to be random? So
wait, how do I win though? How do I win?
We're just going to go a while until like if I intuitively see that you've had like 3 strikes, I'm going to call you and I'm going to say, I think you lost the game. I think I have the upper hand. Okay. So I don't know. That's how we kind of do it. All right. But I think the audience can let us know. Like they can decide. We'll decide and we'll debate who won, but we'll have the audience like decide for sure who won.
Yeah, we'll have you guys do that.
So okay. Okay. So do you want me to start?
Okay.
All right. So I'll start with owl.
Wise.
You lost.
Wait.
Has to be random.
What do you mean? You said owl, and the first thing I thought of was wise.
No, exactly. You have to say something completely random. I say owl, you have to say wrench. You say wrench.
I thought you said before we started this that
No.
it can be tied to what you said.
No.
Okay, fine.
No. Random based on what I say. For instance, if you start off by saying, what did you say, wise, then wise is a perfectly random word, but it's not perfectly random if I say owl first.
Fine.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
So you have to
I
say
thought the whole idea of the game is to say what's like on
No,
my mind when you say owl.
No. This is the random game. It's a game about randomness.
Okay.
You have to make your answers as perfectly random as possible.
Okay, here we
Let's
go.
do over.
I got you now.
Okay,
I get it.
So I'm going to start with, see, I can't even be looking around. Like if I say something in the room, you can call me out. Like there's a banana over there. If I say banana, I'm out.
Why?
Because there's a banana
you
there.
saw it.
This has to be random.
It's random. Okay. So you like close your eyes. Wait. Okay.
Yeah. This is hard. So,
Okay, go.
Okay. All right. Exercise.
Boots.
Okay. Telescope.
Grass.
Okay. Oh, dang. Hang on. Swimming pool.
Walmart.
Okay. So Walmart, like where they sell supplies for pools? Is that what you mean? Or no. Okay, no. Hang on.
It's random.
Let me think. Okay, proton.
Nose hairs.
Okay, hang on. Okay, shorts.
Like the shorts I'm wearing?
No, actually, like the shorts, like the shorts that are kind of like swim trunks that you would swim in, which we referenced the pool earlier. Yeah, that's a big strike on me. So you see how this game goes. Let's just keep going, and at the end of it, no, just keep going. So the audience will take into consideration all of our strikes.
Okay.
So
who's starting this one?
I think it was up to me again.
Shorts.
Oh, right. Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. I guess when I start, you can literally say anything.
Yeah.
Book.
Okay. Dang. See, the word I was thinking of. Okay. Squash.
Alphabet.
Ant.
Watch.
Slippers.
Glasses.
Mail.
Sword.
Q-tip.
Ladybug.
Drawer. Don't say another insect now. I'm just saying.
That doesn't count into my 5 seconds.
Oh, hey, no, it's all right.
You started talking.
Hey, it's all good.
Lips.
Blanket.
Wheel.
Paint.
That's right. A wheel, and then I thought car. You know?
When you said wheel, I was going to say screwdriver.
I was going to say a tool at some point, but then it was.
Dude, the thing is, the more you go, the more difficult it becomes.
You start to think of that ties to all the other things.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if it's. I think we'll leave it there. I think I won.
After I lost that time, no. I think I won the first half. You won the second half because I was taking longer on mine the second half. But the first half, I think I won that one. I was going fast, and you said shorts.
I know. Let's do a lightning round.
Okay.
And
Okay.
tiebreaker.
No matter what, like even if
Yeah.
if it's a strike, let's not.
Yeah. No,
let's just go.
Yep.
A while.
Lightning round. Your time to start.
Okay, hold on. Let me at least think of
Okay.
what I'll start with. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Mirror.
Kolache.
Letters.
Basket.
Fingers.
Apron.
Coffee.
Bumblebee.
Super heroes.
Hula hoop.
Shot.
Oh, what's it called? Metal detector.
Sand. Oh, that's bad. I lost.
Why the sand?
Because you said metal detector.
Oh, you're thinking like, oh, okay.
Dude,
was
I
thinking
totally
a
lost
different
that one. Wow. Okay.
Well, we'll see what the audience thinks. Too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overall, okay, as an overall.
Oh, I totally took that. So you
whatever.
you are finished.
Okay, let's get to
Yeah.
these examples.
Yeah. So like I was saying, I think Aristotle teaches us a lot about what virtue is, and not that I think that he's right about everything here, but I think it's really helpful to get at what it is. Let me list here. I want to show this table to the audience here. This is how he lists the virtues. So he says that the virtues are, and he calls them the moral virtues. You have courage, temperance, liberality, magnificence, proper pride, proper ambition, good temper, truthfulness, wittiness, friendliness, modesty, proper indignation. And the thing about these virtues is that a virtue is always like the right thing to choose. It's kind of like, again, we're intellectual beings, we're moral beings. Mm-hmm. And we have to measure situations as they come at us. Yeah. So in different circumstances, we will always try to determine what is the right thing to do. And to always do the right thing is to live virtuously. Yeah. Okay. And it's always the case that when you need to make a decision, you could go wrong in a certain way, you could go wrong in a different way, or you can aim at the mean, which is the proper thing to do. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the mean is like an average, because notice there's a deficiency or an excess in the particular thing that you're dealing with.
It's not like you're taking from those two and then it's like combines.
No.
It's more like there's three extremes.
Yeah. So the mean is like what is absolutely the right thing to do. This will make more sense if we look at an example.
Yeah.
And so one example that comes to mind for me is imagine that you're at lunch, maybe like you're in high school or something, or whatever, lunch at work, you go to the cafeteria, and let's say that mom baked for you like some amazing chocolate chip cookies, mm-hmm. in addition to your lunch. Yeah. And you're sitting with a friend. And now consider when you're put in a situation like that, doesn't your mind kind of think, hey, what's the right thing to do? Like, hey, maybe I should share these cookies with my friends,
right?
Mm-hmm. So I think, let me present to you 4 cases about how this can go. So case number 1, the idea of sharing your cookies does not even come to mind. You don't even think about it, okay? So what Aristotle would say about that is, man, you're not really kind of using your brain to think about this situation. You're not really grasping for what's the right thing to do in a case like this. You're just kind of, you're just focused on yourself. You're not trying to exercise your faculties. Well, anyway, so that's case 1. He would say that there's kind of like a deficiency there. Case 2 is that it does occur to you. You're like, oh man, I recognize that the right thing to do here is to share my cookies. But you recognize it, but you are a slave to your desire of wanting to eat the cookies yourself. Mm-hmm. That's like pleasure taking you away from the possibility of doing something beautiful. Mm-hmm. Because I think we are already recognizing that to share is like a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And you want to do a beautiful thing. And if you were to do the beautiful thing, you would actually feel pretty fulfilled about that. You would be very happy by doing that.
Yeah.
like before I go on with the cases, like let's make this clear. I mean, let's be honest about this. What is something that makes you happier? What is a more beautiful thing? The delicious cookie or sharing a delicious cookie with a friend?
Yeah.
I mean, think about that feeling about sharing it.
What's gonna I guess fulfill or fill what's the better word for it? Mm-hmm. What's going to kind of fill that void that we talked about?
Yeah.
Exactly. What's going to make you feel like, oh, I did the right thing there.
Yeah, definitely. No, and even putting it like in still like in a selfish mode, like seriously, like what's going to make you happier?
Yeah.
I think that, I think we've experienced that. Like when sharing in the opportune moment, it's like, oh man, I'm so glad I thought to share has that ever, have you been, I was critical of case one, but have you not had that case one? Like you finished eating your cookies and like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think to like share these. Like
right,
what
exactly.
a jerk. I'm such a jerk,
Yeah.
like, and maybe not to be too hard on yourself for just one thing like that. But the point is that was like a missed opportunity is my point, So anyway, the case two though, imagine that you're like a slave to your desires. Mm-hmm. Is you recognize it and you're like, no, I'm going to eat these cookies, dude. They're too good. Okay. All right. So that's case two, right? Here's case three. Case three, this is an interesting one. Case three is that you recognize the opportunity and you actually share your cookies with your friends.
Right.
But it kind of hurt too much. You're like, dang, I kind of wish I'd kept those for myself.
Yeah.
That's case three. That's an interesting case that I want to talk more about. Case four is what I'm kind of presenting, obviously, is like the perfect scenario. Here's the key. That you recognize it, that you do it, so you recognize, you do it. In other words, you weren't held captive to your desires. Okay?
Yeah.
And then you share them and you felt pleasure by doing that.
Yeah.
Okay? You felt pleasure. That's what Aristotle is very, very keen on this. Yeah. He says that, the way that you know that you have virtue and not just apparent virtue is that you're able to do the virtuous act, but it resonates in your soul, it resonates in your being in such a way that you actually get pleasure out of it. Mm-hmm. Okay? The other, case three, Aristotle would argue that is, he says it's apparent virtue.
Yeah.
And the thing about that too, though, what he also says about this,
it's still virtuous.
Yes, like what he says about that is that's a good thing. In order to be virtuous, you can't just suddenly like, oh, next day, oh yeah, I'm going to be virtuous. I'm going to be able to do exactly that case for every time. Because for Aristotle, in order to have this like, this like perfect virtue, you have to practice at it. Like, exactly. How do you become a good person? Aristotle would say you have to do good things until it becomes just second nature.
Right.
And there is something about doing the right thing that there's a natural pleasure that comes out of it. Mm-hmm. But it could be that you don't get pleasure out of it at the time because you've been kind of, you've been in that ditch too long. Mm-hmm. you haven't been exposed to doing these beautiful things enough that you get a taste for it, But he's saying keep doing the right thing and you kind of get a taste for it. And then it becomes kind of a second nature. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, in simple terms, again, it's just a matter of practice. You have to practice being virtuous. It doesn't just come to you. It's not like, I wake up and I get to be virtuous. Yeah. And I'm going to be, but I think it's important to know that the way he says it, it's apparent virtue.
Yes.
It's still virtue, but it's apparent virtue. But the goal is to get to the what was the word we used?
I don't know. Perfect virtue?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect virtue. Yeah.
Let me share just another one, just so we kind of see this. So another example I was thinking of is maybe you're at a party, and you notice that there's a person. Maybe you know this person a little bit, and the person is like an awesome person, a good person in many respects. That's even independent of the fact, actually. But this person is not looked at well by the popular crowd, for instance. I don't know. Maybe it's something stupid like they don't wear the proper clothing or whatever it is, right? Yeah. It's just an unpopular person that has incredible worth, which what the person has intrinsic worth anyway. So you still have to do the right thing independently of how good or bad the person is. The point is, this person is being unjustly, what's the word? I guess marginalized in the party. Okay. So, okay. Case one, you don't even recognize there's a problem here. Okay. Like
exactly.
you're not using your head to judge, hey, whoa, that's weird. Like, that person isn't, they're not talking with this person or anything. Like, so no, case one, you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Case two, you recognize that, and you even recognize that the right thing to do is to go and engage and talk to the person, make friends and be friendly with that person. But you don't do it because you're too afraid. You're too afraid of the popular crowd, or maybe it could be that you're too afraid of the popular crowd, or it could be that you're too jealous of like your time, like you just kind of want to do your own thing,
right?
And you don't want to just do the right thing at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, that's case two. You are a slave to certain passions. You are a slave to certain desires, like the desire of being liked by the popular crowd. That, by the way, we talked about honor last class.
Teacher. There's the teacher. There we go.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
So we talked about honor the previous show, and that's a case where you're seeking honor just for the sake of it, like just like the pleasure of being liked by other people, not a proper honor. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's case two. You don't do anything about it because you're a slave to other passions. Case three, you do something about it. You go and you talk to the person, and you hang out with them, and you're friendly to the person. You did the right thing. But all the time you're like, this is so uncomfortable. I wish I was doing something else. Yeah. No, but case four, you go and you do it, and you're like, oh, this is, I'm being
like
helped.
You've grown, or you feel like
I'm doing the right thing, and that's the key. And what I like to do in cases like that, but
it's different than like just you enjoyed something. It's not like, oh, I had a good time. No, it's the reflection part. That's important.
You're getting
the reflection
pleasure.
part is the perfect part. Is the fact that like you see what you did, and then you find pleasure. You like that you did that.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's different.
No. Yeah. Definitely.
It's different than saying, oh, I had a good time.
Yeah, and like to kind of spoil the conclusion of what Aristotle does with all this. What's apparent in all of these exercises, Aristotle would say, is that you have a perception of the beautiful action. That's actually, we talk about beauty all the time.
Yeah.
Beauty, Sal, I'm telling you, beauty is a real thing. Like in any circumstance, you can always think about what is the beautiful thing to do. That's what Aristotle is saying, that try whatever the circumstance is, when you are put in a position that you have to do this or that, you have to do X or Y. You could do this with your time. You can do this with your time. You see that person, you can have this conversation with them. Always look for the beautiful thing to do. And getting pleasure out of that beautiful thing, that kind of means that your mind, body, and soul are all kind of like banging on all cylinders kind of thing, Yeah. So that's kind of what I find this pretty interesting. Now, I do want to say it's always awkward talking about virtue and like, oh, we have to seek the perfect virtue. There's definitely, I think, an idea in our society that there's something kind of weird or wrong about that. Like, oh, well, who are you guys to talk about virtue? Like, you're so perfect or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a non sequitur, first of all. Like, we have to understand, of course it is the case. And this is like an underlying truth that we've seen in all this.
Yeah.
What have we been saying about our desires? Like, why is it that we can't just let our desires run rampant? You know what? In a perfect world, I think we should be able to let our desires run rampant. There's a conflict, Sal, between our desires and what is actually good for us. There's a conflict between our desires and that beautiful moment. There's a conflict between our desires and living according to virtue.
Yeah.
Ideally, that wouldn't be the case. That's the part of the human condition. It's part of what it means to be human. There is kind of a tragedy in it. We, of course, call it the fall. That's the Christian perspective here.
Right.
That there's a conflict between our desires and what's right. And to recognize that is very important. One of the least virtuous things you can do is to try to think that all throughout your life that you always have the right desires. Not at all. Like, it's important to recognize our limitation there, our deficiency there. Okay, but does that mean that we stop yearning for perfect virtue? Of course not. Yearn for perfect virtue. Think about what perfect virtue is. Try to do it. Let's try together. Yeah. We're all fallen human beings. We all fall short.
Yeah.
We all fall short, and this is why Jesus says, "Don't judge."
Yeah.
Don't judge lest you be judged. Meaning, look, who are you to judge someone in this ultimate sense? Because you have your failings too. Your time is going to be better spent recognizing we all have failings, but that doesn't mean that, we all have failings, so whatever. No. We all have failings, so let's all work together to try to improve our lot, to try to be better people every day.
Right. Yeah. And I think something that's important to take from that is self-reflection. Mm-hmm. Self-reflection is, you're not going to be able to really practice to being virtuous. You're not going to be able to even recognize or see if you're being virtuous if you're not reflecting on yourself. Yes. That's part of the practice. Yeah. And I think for myself, I think on a personal level, where I learned self-reflection when I was forced, my environment forced me to reflect on my own life. I worked out in Colorado, and that forced me to reflect on my own life, and reflect on the decisions I've made in my life, the relationships I have, what's important to me, what's not important to me. And I think when you think that way, I think I would say that as Christians, Jesus encourages us to do so, to think and reflect, like, am I being who I'm meant to be? Yeah. Am I living that fulfilled life? Mm-hmm. Am I living the virtuous life all the way I can? Because yes, we talked about how it is virtuous to do something even though you don't want to do. Right? Mm-hmm. I think that's great. But we are striving to get to the point where I can say, I can do something that's virtuous and say, you know what, like, I think I really liked that, and I think it starts, if you want to talk really about, talk about practice and a good way to do that is serving people. Yeah. When you serve and you're intentional about serving somebody, it's great practice because you have a goal. You set a goal of, I'm going to serve this person. And that if you made it a goal, you're going to like it. Yeah. And you start to then see what that feels like. You know what I mean? By habituation, and it makes you happy.
By habituation, you get more of a feel for it, actually. It's kind of like, it really is like this. This is kind of a weird example, I guess, but when it comes to like wine, you have cheaper wines and you have finer wines. Yeah. And there is a very real distinction between a fine wine and a cheap wine. Yeah. Okay. Somebody who doesn't have the taste, though, you just drink the cheap, very sweet, sugary kind of wine. Yeah. And to you that's like the best thing ever. No, you're objectively wrong, actually. There are very real reasons as to why this wine over here is superior to this wine. That's just a fact. Yeah. Okay. But if you were to give me the I'm not a wine connoisseur, by the way. I am getting a little bit more of a feel for the finer wines. But, but the point is, you give me this fine wine to an unaccustomed palate, and whatever, I'm just going to wash down like a burger with it. And the connoisseur is going to be like, what are you doing? Like, this is a fine wine. Yeah.
My father-in-law likes to put ketchup on his steaks.
Yeah. See, that's a sacrilege, dude. You can't do that. It's rough. But the point is, if you actually start kind of accustoming yourself to fine wine, you kind of start to see the reasons why.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh wow, this is a level of wine tasting that I had never experienced.
Yeah.
I could have been down here when I could have been up here the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm sidetracking us.
No,
Okay.
I know you're making a great point. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I just wanted to double down on the fact that like you have to find ways to be able to practice it.
Yeah, and
practical ways to be able to do that, and it's okay. Like, I think right away some people might think that it's like, okay, well, if I feel like I need to practice it, then it's not genuine. I should just feel like I'm like I'm a good person. No, I mean, like, if you want to be good at anything, it's got to be practice.
That's
we
it.
have a nature.
That's it.
We have a human nature. Mm-hmm. We have the longing.
Yes.
That's already what's written in the human nature. That's already the like.
Yeah.
I don't want to say instinct, but that's already the part that is automatic that we have. We have that longing.
Yeah, it's your nature.
It's a matter of taking that step and making the decision of like, okay, how am I going to practice this? How am I going to become this, virtuous person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we're kind of running out of time on this section right now, but what we're going to be kind of looking at in the next few shows, one thing that's interesting, and what I'm getting this from Aristotle from his Nicomachean Ethics, and in his section on virtue, it almost makes it seem like, oh, okay, so I think we have it figured out. Then happiness is just simply worrying about virtue. Mm-hmm. I think the reality is a little bit more complex than that, because we had started the discussion by saying that all of our actions seem to aim at some good, okay?
Yeah.
And so we don't want to say either that virtue is the epitome of all things, because then even virtue is for the sake of something.
Yeah.
Virtue is for the sake of the good. Yeah. You're still seeking something beyond that virtue.
Right.
And I think one kind of clue that we get with Aristotle here is that the later on in the book, there's a chapter that he has on friendship. And it almost seems kind of like a non sequitur. It's like he discusses the question of, hey, what are the different kinds of happy lives? And then he says, oh, you know what? Let's analyze virtue a little bit. And then he's like, hey, let's look at friendship. Mm-hmm. And the most beautiful thing in his chapter on friendship is he says that it seems that friends are the happiest, or it seems like the best kind of friendship is the friendship where you're in competition with your friend to do beautiful things for the friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And kind of like the examples that I chose before, we always kind of see that when we do something beautiful for somebody else, without seeking our own happiness, this is the the way the universe kind of works, the way God made the universe. That when you seek happiness not for yourself, but when you seek the happiness of the other, when you seek to do the beautiful thing for the other, guess what happens unexpectedly? You are at your happiest. You are at your most fulfilled.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not that, what shall we say, paradoxically, if you're always trying to seek out happiness for yourself, you're probably going to be at a point in your life where you're trapped and you're not finding it.
Yeah.
And it's like what you were saying, that when you do things for others, when you seek the good of others, and in particular, even more generally, just the good overall, like not what's good for me, but what is good.
Yeah.
That's where happiness gets thrown in unexpectedly as a gift.
Yeah, and it's ironic because it's that practice. It's that like being virtuous. You're practicing to be virtuous by serving other people, but less of you.
Yes.
So it's like, but you're bettering yourself. It's an ironic thing.
Yeah.
Rather than like, I actually, and some of my students could attest to this, but like I've actually been talking about sacrifice, and how sacrifice can be a way of serving, right? Yeah. I'm going to sacrifice my hunger eating this sandwich and give it to this guy over here who hasn't eaten in 5 days.
Yeah.
And I something that I mentioned to them was, this world is always we live in a consumer world. You know, I think we talked about this in the Human Nature series, and how the world tells us we need more, consume more.
Yeah.
If you want to get better at this, you need to buy this. If you want to be better here, you need to take this class. You need to do this, right? And those things are fine. I think consuming is okay. If reading more books, buying things that are going to help you achieve a goal is totally fine. But I think what's underrated and not talked about enough is the power of being selfless, the power of serving somebody, which really fuels that virtue, you know. And I don't think again, the worldview is always telling us me, rather than what can I do for somebody else?
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Yeah, I know.
So, and it again, like, you can ask anybody. I mean, we ask you guys, like, have you had a time where you've done something for somebody and you feel so good? We talked about our mom, when we get our mom flowers or serve our parents. I mean, it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
You know,
it's the best.
yeah, it's great. And just, we're seeing even the reaction to somebody when you serve them.
Yeah.
You know, not only are you making them happy, but it makes you happy as well.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, very good. We'll continue the discussion next time.
Yes.
Yeah, we have more to get into. It's one of the biggest, probably the biggest question in life, I suppose. So
I should say we've gotten a few questions about different things. We're going to address questions, like we said last time, different platforms, whether it's on our episodes, our shows, or it's on social media in any way. So stay tuned for those things. Comment about today. What do you have for us? Okay. Before we go, let's get into
so I wanted to talk about the black hole. Yeah. I mean, if you've been living under a rock last couple weeks, I should let you know that we have our first images of a black hole, actually, which is kind of strange because we hear about black holes all the time. We kind of take it for granted that they exist. And I don't know if you were aware, Sal, that scientists had never before taken a picture of one. It did take me by surprise that this happened. I didn't realize that scientists were specifically trying to capture a picture of one. Yeah. But it's really exciting stuff. So what we know about it, so maybe you guys have read some articles, but I'll just kind of digest the information a little bit. The picture that was taken is a picture of it's a black hole. It's a supermassive black hole, and it's the center of the Messier 87 galaxy. Now, this is a galaxy that's 55 million light years away. And so I guess one obvious question that comes to mind is, why did they specifically choose to picture that black hole? And not, for instance, the black hole at the center of our universe, or at least there's speculation that there is a black hole at the center of our universe. So what do you think? Why choose that one and not the one in our own galaxy, which presumably would be a lot closer? But the reason is that the size of the black hole matters. So the size of the black hole at the center of our universe would be considerably smaller. So that's going to make it more difficult to see. This other one is larger, so there's that, but it's also farther away. But the other thing is that it was going to be more visible anyway, because this particular black hole is a very active black hole. And that means that it's gobbling up a lot of matter. It's gobbling up a bunch of stars, planets, etc., anything that's in its way. Yeah. And when it does so, it goes over what's called the event horizon, and all that matter is essentially getting just completely annihilated. It creates this plasma. So I don't know if you're familiar. Like, plasma is like when the state of matter is just broken down to like ions.
You get out of blood.
No,
just kidding.
No, this is so, like, you have gas, you have liquid, you have solids, etc. Or sorry, I guess backwards. Solid, liquid, gas. What's gas? It's molecules that are moving around. But a plasma is you're even ripping off the molecules so that you end up with ions. Yeah. So, like, basically imagine taking a star or a planet and just grinding it up to its constituent parts. And so you have these moving ions, and this creates bright lights. So this is, if looking at the picture of the black hole, this ring of like fire that you see all around, that's a plasma, and it's very bright and it's very visible because this is a active black hole that's gobbling up all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you know the size of that black hole, Sal? The size of that black hole is actually almost the size of our solar system. So it's pretty insane. It's 60. Oh man, was it? 6.5, I believe it was. 6.5 billion times the mass of our sun.
Yeah.
Is this black hole? But anyway, we have a picture of it. Obviously, if you didn't have the surrounding plasma, it would be invisible.
Yeah.
We have no pictures of our particular black hole in our galaxy, but I think this is pretty promising that maybe we'll have a chance to see it. See it in the future. So
yeah, definitely.
Well, you're going to tell us about what was it? Was it Wednesday night?
So
Thursday
Tuesday night.
Tuesday?
So
Okay.
I have a special light for us today, and Tuesday night was a special night for me. One of the greatest nights of my life, and maybe it seems ridiculous to other people me saying this, but since I was maybe about 9 years old, I've been watching 8 or 9 years old. I have been a Dallas Mavericks fan. For those of you who have no idea who the Dallas Mavericks are, they are the NBA, the National Basketball Association. They are the professional basketball team.
I think everybody knows the Mavs. So
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I don't know. You never know. But and Dirk Nowitzki has been the face of the franchise for 21 years. I mean, even coming into his
21 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even coming into his rookie season, he wasn't really the face yet, but he was promising. They took a chance on him. He had a rough rookie year, and then from there, after that first year, he even was thinking about leaving, going back to Germany.
Yeah.
And after that, he just kind of took off. So a couple of Dirk Nowitzki's, achievements are he's a 14-time All-Star. He's a 2011 NBA champion, 2007 MVP trophy. He was best player in the league that year.
What year?
2007.
Oh, right.
Won the MVP.
Yeah.
What am I missing? I forget what his All-NBA. I think he's 12-time All-NBA. And then the last one I'm missing is what's the last feat?
Was it points?
No. Yeah. So, of course. He's
Like
sixth
sixth?
all-time scoring. Sixth all-time scoring.
That's crazy.
It's incredible. Yeah.
So wait, 12th All NBA. That means what?
So
critics
30.
say
So the
he's
points are 30K plus. I think he's at 31 something. So 1,000.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and what'd you say?
Well, I was saying what does it mean to be 12th All NBA?
Oh, so at the end of the season, there's 3 All NBA teams. So it's basically they draft or say these are the 5 best players of the first All NBA team, 5 best players positionally.
Oh yeah.
In this the second All NBA and then third. So basically you could say it's the best 15 players in the game.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, Dirk has meant a lot personally to me. It was really cool just seeing how he has just brought so much joy, to and excitement to the city of Dallas. My friend, one of my friends, Dylan, which we'll have on the show at some point because the playoffs are starting now. Dallas Mavericks aren't in the playoffs, but we're going to try to have a show with talking about the NBA playoffs, just kind of deep dive a little bit. But a quote from my friend Dylan's post. He writes for the Dallas Fanatics, Sports Fanatics, and he says Dallas is Dirk as much as Dirk is Dallas, and we'll have a link to his article if you'd like to check it out. But again, Dallas is Dirk as much as Dirk is Dallas. And for me, when we moved to Dallas when I was around 7 or 8 years old, it was once I found the Mavs, I I didn't ever have pride for Dallas, but I did because I was a Mavericks fan, you know, and so that's what tied me to the city of Dallas.
Right.
And I feel like if I were to ever move anywhere else, I think because of the Mavericks, I'm tied to Dallas that way, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it's just basketball, and it's true. It's just a game. It's just basketball. It's not life. But it's a lot of joy, and Dirk Nowitzki's one big reason, you know, and the way he's served his community. Anyone you ask anybody in the NBA world, they say he's the nicest guy.
If I can interject, like you say, it's just basketball, but I think you see with Dirk like that commitment to excellence, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's something, whether it's basketball or anything else, that's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. So that night was just really special to see his. You know, I teared up a couple times just taking his last few shots, and then also just having some of the NBA legends that were there talking.
His
about
last
him.
game, right? His last game, in
last
Dallas.
home game.
Home game.
He had then his last game in San Antonio, which was special too. You know, just being recognized by other Texans.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have a chance, take a look. You can just Google Dirk Nowitzki's last home game and just see what he has to say. And he's a great guy. So again, we'll have the link for Dylan's link so you can read that. And you know, he just puts it in great words. Just what Dirk has meant to him personally, but also to the city of Dallas and to MFFLs all over Dallas.
Hey, so how was the atmosphere in the stadium?
It was awesome. I mean, it was cool. Like,
was it jam packed? I mean,
yeah, it was packed, and it was cool. Like going in, like if he was out of the game for a little bit, you know, we would chant, "We want Dirk, we want Dirk," and stuff. And he, you know, Rick Carlisle would let him in.
So he played a significant amount of minutes.
Yeah, he scored 30 points on it, and
Whoa.
you know, you could tell he was tired afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna miss him too.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I'm not a Mavs fan like you are, but I mean, yeah, I love Dirk definitely.
Yeah,
And
he's
so
been
it is pretty
significant.
sad that he's gone now, or going to be gone. So.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys. Well, that concludes our show for today. Remember to leave a comment. What do you think? Right? I know we have. We're waiting on some more questions to just address. Right. Remember, just look for those platforms. Leave a comment so you can get a shout out next week. And it's important. We want to know what you think. All right. Yeah. So remember, truth is too precious to give up on, guys. See you next time.